So it is 5 a.m. on the first day of the 2023 March Madness men's bracket, and I guess you could say I went a little overboard with my bracket this year. So welcome to this very special episode of Coach Co's B-Ball Breakdowns. We have a full bracket breakdown video today. I've watched a lot of basketball coming into this tournament, and I made a scouting report for each team in the tournament. So that's what we're going to go over today. I use two YouTube accounts for my databases. The Draftmatic and Matt Loves B-Ball is what I use for my film reviews and what I use to make these scouting reports. So each starts the same, each scouting report. Teams I've watched them play against, an eye test, initial impressions about what I think, the guys that they have, their offensive style, and whether or not I think they can win. So starting with Alabama. It's a team that's a national championship contender, obviously the '1 overall seed. But my biggest question about them is their experience and their lack of leadership and their attitude problems. We saw Brandon Miller in the news last week, 2 weeks ago, for some things that he had going on and off the court. And I've also seen guys like Javon Quinterly really just going at certain guys on the defensive end and getting them in the faces of referees, officials, and of the other teams. So that's the only thing that is going to be able to stop Alabama is themselves, I think, in this tournament. They shoot 33s per game and they get to the line. They score in the paint, and Brandon Miller, Quinterly, I think Pringle's really got to play well for them coming in off the bench. So, and Bediako, he's a high motor, 6 rebound guy in 21 minutes. He disrupts a lot of things in the paint for them. So they can definitely win, and they can definitely be national champions. And then for this AMC SEMO playing game, I think I don't know which team won, but they both finished on a 4-game win streak. I don't think either of them really match up well against Bama. They shoot a lot of threes, each of them, and yeah, AMCC is scoring a lot of points lately. So they just don't have a lot of size, either of the teams. They have good guard play, but I just don't think either of them are good enough to advance past Alabama. But this West Virginia versus Maryland matchup is one I definitely have circled. Jahmir Young and Hakeem Hart and Dante Scott, the three trio senior guard of Hart, Carey, and Young, they are pretty much running the show for Maryland. They give up some things on the inside and rebounding and interior defense-wise, which is, I think, their biggest problem right now. But because of that, they kind of match up decently with Alabama. So if they get past West Virginia, they could give Alabama a run for their money. I just think Alabama's probably got too much firepower, though. So I do think that they're able to beat this West Virginia team, who's kind of a similar team. Bob Huggins has a decent squad on his hands this year. I think they struggled early in the season. They turn it over a lot, but they're a high three-point shooting team. They get it to the cup. Eric Stevenson is their guy on the offensive end of the court. But they also need Jimmy Bell Jr. and James Okonkwo. They need those guys to play big down low for them. They're going to be the X factors for them. They go inside out, which means that they attack the paint and then look to kick, freeing up drive and kick options for their guards or other shooting opportunities for their guards. If they come out and trap Maryland, they may be able to win that game, but I think Maryland is a little bit too much for them to handle on the offensive end of the court. I don't think West Virginia has a defense to keep up, but they also match up decently with Bama, so both of those teams are going to be interesting matchups for Bama in the second round. The San Diego State Ball Club plays great defense. They're good in transition, and they like to run. They're pretty deep as well. This is an experienced ball club. They haven't advanced past the first round since 2015, so I got them winning a close one against the College of Charleston. They really need Lamont Butler and Agaweka Rope to play well for them. Keyshawn Johnson is another guy they have coming off the bench, and Jaden Ledee is an Ohio State transfer. Micah Parrish is a good guard for them. They have pretty good guard play. It's just like, who is their late game threat, and can they space the floor? And do they have interior defense and rebounding? This Charleston team, they shoot a lot of threes. They score it well. They do also would like to run and jump. They're high tempo defense to offense. This Brozovic guy, he's a 6'10" sophomore with a handle. He gets like 20 points a game or something like that. And then Babacar Faye, he's a big guy down low for them. He really needs to play well if they want to have a shot at knocking off San Diego State. But if they can push tempo, they kind of play into San Diego State's hands, and I think San Diego State's able to come away with a win in that one, even though Charleston shoots the most threes in the nation. They actually got a really bad draw because San Diego State's perimeter D is so good. But if they win that game, I think that they can give Virginia, or well, I have Furman winning, but we'll get into that, a run for their money. So this Virginia team, coached by Tony Bennett, 3-time National Coach of the Year, they're pretty much the same as they always are. They play defense and they don't turn it over and they don't score. That's their thing. Their rebounding is a bit lackluster, below average this year as well. Their IQ is there though, and they're led by Kahie Clark and Reese Beekman. Franklin is their leading scorer, but Beekman and Clark really need to take the load off of him a lot, and if they want to win. They lost Ben Vanderplas, broke his wrist, so Francisco Cafaro is really going to need to step up. They play slow and controlled, defense to offense, and they take quality shots. They have a nightmare matchup in this first round versus Furman, and I'll tell you why right now. But if they win, they can definitely get to the Sweet 16 and win their second round matchup versus San Diego State as well, because those two teams are going to clash. San Diego State wants to get out and run, and Virginia's going to slow it down. And I think Virginia has a better guard play overall in that matchup if they can get past this Furman team, who, like I said, is a nightmare matchup. This Furman team also shoots a lot of threes. They score. They only give up 70, or well, their defense is bad. They give up 71 points per game against Virginia, who has a really good defense. So hopefully Virginia struggles to score because I think I want Furman to win this game. They got Mike Bothwell, the Cleveland Heights grad, and Slauson, Pegues, and Bothwell. Those guys all can each score 20 points a game. They're just a bit undersized down low. This 6'7" freshman, he's able to space the floor and disrupt a lot of things down low. But I just worry about how well they're able to keep up with the paint touches rather for Virginia. Yeah. Moving on to the next one, we got Creighton versus NC State. And I worry about this Creighton team. They're really kind of hard to figure out. They're not very deep. They're in the Big East, so I gave them a plus on the grit rating. But they run a lot of things through these two Ryans, Ryan Kalkbrenner and Ryan Nembhard. Kalkbrenner's a 7'1" junior. He gets a lot of their touches down low. And they do shoot a lot of threes. They don't get to the line much, and they don't get to the paint much, which is why I think they're going to struggle against this NC State team. NC State, I watched them play a lot of their ACC games. They went on a really good run there, like middle of February, and then kind of slowed down towards the end of the season. But they're coming in as the 11th seed. They definitely passed the eye test. They got good guard play in Tre'Quavion Smith and Jarkel Joyner. Each of those guys, they're like Batman and Robin. You're going to see it on a couple of the other scouting reports. If I like their guard play, I'm going to call them Batman and Robin. DJ Burns down here is going to be their X factor, though. 6'9", 275-pound dude in the middle of the paint. He needs to play well if they want to win. And then Ebenezer Duanwa. I don't know. He's coming in off the bench. I have him down as cement feet, which means he's the honey bun on defense, which means when he's guarding the ball, we're going to go attack him and try and get to the paint. They shoot a lot of threes. I do think that they can win. I think they do win versus Creighton, rather. So moving on to the next one, we got it's Baylor versus UC Santa Barbara. Oh, Lordy. This Baylor team is definitely a national champion contender. I think that they can make it to the Final Four if they get a good run. They got a tough draw. This first region between Alabama, Arizona, and Baylor, for three teams that have a shot to win that region. I watched them play a lot of their Big 12 games. They score it. They got four guys: Cryer, Bridges, Flagler, and Keontae George. How could I forget Keontae George? Those guys are all going to take you off the dribble and get to their spot and hit their shots. It's going to come down to Flo Thamba, really. If he can dominate the paint down there, this is going to be a really hard team to stop. I worry about sort of their main guy at the end, Keontae George. He's a NBA prospect for sure, but he's just inexperienced and he doesn't take the best shot all the time late in the game. Definitely going to be wanting to look for Flagler or Cryer. Hopefully, maybe we can get them a look late if George isn't hitting. So I worry about them in that regard, but I think that they're good enough to knock off Arizona and possibly Alabama as well. So this UC Santa Barbara team, they shoot at a high percentage. They get a lot of assists. They got AJ Mitchell and Miles Norris, who basically run things on the offensive end of the court. AJ Mitchell, 6'5" sophomore, averages 16 and 5. He's really impressive down there. The only thing is their depth. I worry about. Josh Pierre-Louis is not what you would call your third best scorer, but on this team, he has to be. They're susceptible to runs because they do go on scoring droughts. I think Baylor's got too much firepower for them, and I don't think that they can advance past the first round. This Missouri team, on the other hand, is one of my favorites, low seeds. I think they're the best sub-5 seed, or, well, no, because Kentucky's up there. But I think they're probably the best 7 seed in the tournament. They got a really tough draw. Nick Honor, Demoy Hodge, Kobe Brown, Sean East, all dudes that are really, really good. I've watched this team play a lot in their last couple months of the season. Noah Carter's definitely going to be their X factor off the bench. He's got to come in and stop things from developing on the offensive end of the court. I think this team got a poor draw, but they're capable of beating Baylor and Arizona. I think they can get to the Elite Eight if they play up to their potential. I just worry about their interior presence. They're a bit undersized. But they definitely match up well against this Utah State team, and I don't really see them having any problems. Even though this Utah State team is very talented, Taylor Funk, Sean Barstow, and Stephen Ashworth, all really good guys on the offensive end of the court. They score it well. They play good. They play good unselfish basketball on that end of the court. They just don't really have the rebounding experience, defense, size, strength, speed, length. Just not athletic enough to keep up with this Missouri team. Arizona, on the other hand, definitely a national championship contender. I really like, you can see they passed the eye test. They've beaten UCLA twice, which is a tough task to do in the big Pac-12. They're Pac-12 champions. And they're led by Tubelis and Larson. They got Omar Ballo down low, and Cedric Henderson and Kirk Crease and Courtney Ramey. This is going to be the story of this team. Can those guards play well? Because Larson, Tubelis, and Ballo, I have no issues with. I have no worries about them getting their looks and playing well, but they're going to need good guard play here late if they want to advance and win. They take high percentage shots, and like I said, they're unselfish. They're definitely national championship contenders. This Princeton team, I watched 2 games versus them. I watched them play Iona and Yale. Nothing really too impressive. They're pretty experienced. They've got guys who have been there. They just a little bit unathletic. They don't really have the guard play to keep up. They're disciplined and they play good offense. Don't really turn it over. But I just don't see them having a shot to win. So I have Arizona versus Missouri in the second round. Baylor advancing past NC State. I think San Diego State gets past Furman, and Alabama gets past Maryland. I have Alabama getting past San Diego State and Arizona getting past Baylor. So my first Elite Eight matchup is Arizona and Alabama. Moving into the next region, we have the Midwest. I think that this is the bracket that's going to have the most upsets. The Midwest. Yeah. I think this bracket's going to have the most upsets. 5 conference champs in there and 4 good double-digit seeds that can honestly get themselves to the Sweet 16. So you'll see Houston automatically, they pass the eye test. They're second overall seed in the tournament. They do a lot of things well on the offensive end of the court, and they have the depth to make a run for sure. Sasser, Sheed, and Tremont Mark are their guys on the wings that get their buckets and get things going for them. But they look into Chaney and Walker, Walker is a freshman of the year. He shoots it. Chaney can shoot it. And, going to be a tough team to stop on that end of the court. I have questions about their defense and their leadership, but nonetheless, Houston definitely a team that is a national championship contender. Moving on, we got Northern Kentucky. I don't really see this team advancing past Houston. They play 6 guys. They got this guy, Marquez Warwick, who shot 46% in the Horizon tourney. I watched them play their game versus Cleveland State, where they got a 2-point win. Like I said, though, I don't really think that they have anything to throw at Houston. This Iowa matchup, though. This Iowa-Auburn matchup. I don't know how this game's going to go. Iowa is pretty below average on the defensive end of the court. They take high percentage shots and they have a good IQ, which means they don't really turn it over and they play good defense. or well, not good defense. They don't really turn it over. They're not going to beat themselves. Let's put it that way. But I worry about their guard play, and I worry about whether or not they can keep up with Auburn's sort of transition looks and their athleticism and the guard play that they have. They definitely play the team game, and like I said, the assist-to-turnover ratio is really well. They can win. I just don't think that they are going to. I see Auburn winning, and I don't think that Iowa has a shot at Houston. Auburn, on the other hand, they do pass the eye test. They got Wendell Green Jr., Flagler, Broome, Jalen Williams, and Katie Johnson, who really start for them, and then Jasper, who's coming off the bench. They play good defense. They play good rebounding. They play good. It's not really team basketball. I worry about their experience and their IQ. They go one-on-one a lot, but they start outside and then look in. Green, Flagler, and Katie Johnson open things up for Williams and Broome down low. But Williams is probably going to be their X factor. He's got to play well if they want to advance and have a shot at Houston in the second round. I don't think they have a shot, though, honestly. I don't see them throwing anything that's going to get in the way of Houston. So I have Auburn losing in the second round. Miami, on the other hand, Miami is a really interesting team. ACC regular season champs, they have Isaiah Wong, who was ACC Player of the Year, Nigel Pack, Jordan Miller, and Wooga Poplar. Wong, Pack, and Miller all due to take you off the dribble and get their buckets when they want. Norchad Almir, he hurt his ankle in the ACC Conference Championship game, but I do believe he's back. Without him, they are extremely undersized, but I do believe he's back. Wooga Poplar is a good defensive guy to have for you. They're really heavy on the dribble. Like I said, they're pretty one-on-one heavy as well. They attack the lane and they get to the line. I think that they can go to the Elite Eight if they play well enough. I like their matchup against Houston because of their guard play. I think they can throw some things at Houston's guards to stifle them and get them a little bit disrupted. But at the end of the day, Houston's going to win that game versus Indiana. And in a 7-game series, Houston's got it. I didn't really take a good look at Drake. They were 15-5 in conference play. I know they have a good defense. And they had double-digit wins in all 3 rounds of their MVC. I think Miami's got too much for a 12 seed. I think Miami's a really good 5 seed between Duke and Miami, both at the 5 line. It's like the ACC got a little bit bad draw there. But let's move on to this Indiana versus Kent State matchup because this is my first big upset. I got Kent State winning this one, and I'll tell you why. I don't love Indiana's depth. They lost one of their. I think they lost their 3rd leading scorer. I want to say it's Xavier Johnson or Jordan or something. Between Davis, Hood Schifino, and Race Thompson, those guys are going to be threats on the offense on the court, especially Trace Jackson Davis. He's one of the best players in the nation. But I just don't think that they're going to have enough to compete with this crazy good Kent State guard play club. I really like Kent State. I watched them play versus Houston. Their first, it was one of their big non-conference games. They played against Houston and Gonzaga in the non-conference before they started playing in December. So they play really good perimeter D. They got Sincere Carey, who I played against growing up. He's legit. Jalen Sullinger, who I don't know if it's Jared Sullinger's brother or not, but it'd be cool. They got Von Cameron Davis, who was Mr. Ohio B-Ball in 2020. And this team is high-volume 3. They're dangerous on the offensive end of the court, and if they can stifle Indiana from 3, if they can just play good enough defense versus those outside guys, I think that they match up well enough to double team Trace Jackson Davis when they need to. If they can knock down Hood Schifino and keep him from going crazy, I think they have a good shot at advancing. So yeah, you can see I have them winning that game. Let's move on to Iowa State, though. I don't really know how this team's going to come out and play. They play really good defense. They turn defense to offense. They're a run and jump club. But they also have good guard play, and I like them to make a run late, or make a run deep in the tournament. Jaron Holmes and Lipsy. Kalsher is back from last year. He's a Batman Robin type guy with him and Holmes. Asuniyi is going to be their X factor, though. He's got to play well for them down low if they want a shot at winning. I think they can make it all the way to the Elite Eight. As you can see, I have them beating Xavier. I just don't know how this team's going to come out and play. If they come out and they can't score, it's going to be a problem. But they're definitely going to be there on the defensive end. And, yeah, we'll see. This Mississippi State versus Pitt matchup, that was a great game. Two good teams that I thought both deserved a spot in the bracket. I was glad to see them. I think they can both give Iowa State a run for their money. I know Pitt did win, so they're going to have Burton, Hinton, and Cummings. We looked at them a couple times in the film reviews last couple months, but I think Iowa State's just going to have too much for Pitt to handle. Xavier, on the other hand, biggest team, so I gave them a plus on the grit. They have good size, good speed, good strength. They definitely have good depth and some dudes who are going to score. Sully Boom, Desmond Claude, Jack Nunge, and Kunkel. Colby Jones is a great defensive player for them. He takes a lot of charges. He stops their main ball handler a lot of the times. And if he can play well enough to stifle Iowa State's, I just think Iowa State's going to have Kalsher and Holmes. And Lipsey is going to be too much for them to handle. And if Asunia is playing well, that team's going to be really hard to beat. So, as you can see, I have Iowa State beating Xavier in the second round. And part of the reason is that they don't have a signature. And what I mean by that is they win a lot of games by playing the other team's basketball and beating them playing their game. I just don't see them having like their own way to win a lot of the time. So, I think that they can make it to the Sweet 16. I don't see them knocking off Texas, though, to be honest. But Texas could get knocked off by Texas A&M. So let's take a look at A&M. I don't think Xavier could be A&M if that were to happen. Texas A&M is a bit undersized. They have Julius Marble down low, who is hit or miss. He's going to be their X factor for them. Their guard play is really good between Wade Taylor and Radford. Both those guys are two-way guards. They play good defense on the other end too. Dexter Dennis and Garcia are also good. This is a good defensive club. I think Julius Marble really needs to play well for them to do well. Henry Coleman, also a big X factor for them off the bench. If he can score and do good things down low for them, they're going to have success. But because it's really just those two guys, Radford and Taylor, Garcia is not really a huge threat, and Dennis is a bit more of a threat, but not a huge threat. They are susceptible to scoring droughts. If they attack the paint, they'll be all right. I think that they definitely can win their first matchup. I think they can beat Texas. I don't like their matchup against Iowa State. It's tough. Those three teams are all really even. So moving on, we got Penn State versus, who are they playing? A&M's playing Penn State. And I watched Penn State play their last couple of games. They're hot lately. 10 seed and going into the Big Ten tournament, and they made it all the way to the final against Purdue and only lost by 2. Really, really good guard play from this team too. This first round matchup between A&M and Penn State's going to be a really close game because of this guard play, and they're similar teams because they don't match up down low well. Like I said, I think Julius Marble is going to be the X factor for them. If he can knock down, if he can get Najee to not have a great game and not be able to do a lot for them down low and have to rely on Pickett and Lundy more than they want to, they're going to struggle. But they are a very high-volume three-point shooting team, and they hit a lot of shots. So if they don't turn it over and they play good enough defense, their scoring is going to keep them in a lot of games. Honey Bun, that just means that he's slow foot on the perimeter, and when he's guarding the ball, we're going to go at him. So I got Michael Henn as a honey bun on this team, and it's never good to have a guy like that because he just gets you off key on the defensive end of the court. So here comes Texas. Texas, I really do like this team. You can see I have them definitely passing the eye test. They have great guard play. They have a lot of scoring threats, and they're a deep ball club. Marcus Carr, Timmy Allen, they're two best guys. Sir'Jabari Rice is another third option scoring threat for them. Brock Cunningham comes off the bench and gives them a lot. Dylan Disu is a high motor guy in the middle. But Tyrese Hunter is also another scoring threat. So Carr, Rice, Allen, and Hunter get a lot of their touches. But you also have Disu, who you got to worry about in the middle if you're playing defense. They get a lot of points in the paint. Timmy Allen's a big multiple level scorer. He can get in the paint. And Marcus Carr is a good offensive point guard. So I think that this team is definitely national championship conversation. They won the Big 12 against Kansas, and a lot of people probably weren't expecting that, but they actually did it without Timmy Allen too. They won that game by close to 20 points, I think. I really don't think this Colgate team has a shot at knocking Texas off. Where's that game at? There it is. I really don't think this, but they do play really well from the offensive end of things. They're number 2 in assists, and they take care of the ball. I just think Texas is going to have too much firepower, and Colgate isn't going to be able to keep up on the defensive end. So moving on to the West, I think that this is probably the weakest region, bottom of the bracket. A lot of people are high on UConn and Gonzaga. I just think Kansas is the team to beat down here. So I watched them play a lot this year. They definitely passed the eye test. They got great coaching, great experience, great depth, and a lot of scoring options. You can see that's their story. That's the story right there. So they got Jalen Wilson, DeJuan Harris, Grady Dick, Kevin McCullough. I think Ernest Udeh is going to be their X factor. I think a lot of people are going to be talking about him after this tournament. KJ Adams is their guy down low right now, but I think Udeh is a high flyer who's going to impact a lot of games for them. And if he's able to do that, they're going to win. They're going to be successful. They get quality touches. They pass the ball, and they're unselfish. And they have the ability to go one-on-one as well. So if they can knock down shots and Grady Dick is stroking it and McCullough is able to get to the paint, Yusufu is going to be another big piece of their thing. They're definitely worthy of repeating national champs. I just think it's so hard to repeat in basketball. I didn't take a good look at this Howard team, kind of for obvious reasons. I just don't think that they have a shot at knocking off Kansas. They're led by these 2 underclassmen backcourt guys, though. Shai Odom, 6'6". He might be a front court guy, 225, and then Elijah Hawkins. All leading scorers are underclassmen. They won their conference championship by 1 point. Kudos to them for making it. I just don't think that they have a shot. So this Arkansas versus Illinois matchup, really interesting matchup here because Arkansas has lost 4 of 5. I thought that they were one of the top. I thought they were going to be a top seed coming in, and now they're all the way down to an 8 seed. They're just not playing well lately. But they definitely have the eye test, and they definitely have the depth to make a run. This second round matchup versus Kansas is going to be a really close game, I think. So I just think that they're a little bit inexperienced. They don't really have the leadership that they need to make a run at 1 seed like that. You can see Anthony Black, Nick Smith, and Jordan Walsh are their 3 freshmen that I think are the 3 best players. Devontae Davis, he's there too. He's a high-intensity dude. And then you got the 2 Mitchell twins coming off the bench. I think one of them starts. But, a lot of scoring options, a lot of threats on the offensive end. They fill it up from the free throw line. They get to the paint. And they do play run and jump. So they can give Kansas a run for the money if they can run and jump and cause turnovers and cause havoc and force Kansas from playing their kind of game. And Musselman is one of the best coaches. He's going to have a game plan drawn up for Kansas. I think they advance easily past this Illinois team. I don't really see a lot of impressive things that I like from this Big Ten Illinois team. They don't really have the depth or experience that you would want to see from a 9 seed who's looking to make a run. They do shoot a lot of threes, and they get out in transition and run similar to Arkansas, but I just don't think that they're going to be able to keep up and compete. They don't have the scoring. I think it's going to come down to scoring, and they don't really have the defense either. I haven't just seen anything too impressive. So let's move on to this 5-12 matchup, St. Mary's. I watched them play Gonzaga twice this year. I really like number 20, Aiden Mahaney for them, and Logan Johnson is the other guy that they run through. They just don't have a lot of depth. They play like 5 guys. They're not very athletic. They're undersized as well, and that kind of they play good enough defense and they rebound the basketball. They just don't have like the guard play that I would love. They do have good guard play. I just don't think that it's good enough. Johnson and Haney run their offense. I just don't think they're good enough. They each average 15. I just think they're going to struggle. They're kind of a half-court team for sure, and they're a bit of a one-trick pony in the fact that they don't get out in transition a whole lot. If I said that they do get out in transition, I take that back. I might have misspoke. They don't get out in transition. I think they can win if they play well. I really do like this VCU club, though. I think this VCU club matches up really well with St. Mary's. They have them on size, speed, and strength. Their defense is pretty impressive. They only give up 62 points per game. And that's because they got guys that play two-way. They're Watkins and Kern are big guys who play two-way wings. They are able to score it as well. And Jalen Deloach is going to be their X factor down low. If he can stifle that St. Mary's team in the paint, they're going to have a good shot at getting rebounds and forcing long long shots that if St. Mary's is able to hit them, then they're going to be able to win the game. But I think VCU is good enough perimeter defense and good enough guard play to come away with that win. So I think they can ultimately advance past UConn if they play all the way up to par. But I have them losing in the second round, getting past St. Mary's though. So let's take a look at this UConn team. A lot of people are high on them. Like I said, they definitely passed the eye test. They got a better squad than in a lot of recent years. They play good defense. They're good. They got good size, good guard play as well. Jordan Hawkins and Tristan Newton are their guys that run the offense for them. But they also have Andre Jackson, who is a 3-point threat. He's a big guy in the middle, kind of a stretch four. And then Sonogo is a mismatch king down there. He's gonna eat the glass. He's gonna get putbacks. He's gonna get offensive rebounds. Kick it out. You got Caltera and Hawkins and Newton all ready to shoot it down there. This Donovan Clingan dude, he doesn't play a whole lot, but if they need him, they're gonna call him. They're gonna call on him. The 7'2" freshman, and him and Sonogo down there together is gonna be scary. They kind of lack an X factor sort of guy that can get to the cup when he wants. Hawkins is good, but he's not undersized. He's just got to pass out a lot. I think that they're susceptible to scoring droughts because they're a half-court club and they really don't get out and run a lot. Sonogo's kind of slow-footed, and that kind of holds them back a little bit, I think. Definitely a Final Four club, though, if they play up to their potential. I watched this Iona team play a couple of times. They played early against Princeton. They haven't lost since January. They got 14-game win streak coming in. Super athletic club. They get second most blocks in the nation. They got Walter Clayton and Dennis Jenkins. Yeah. Osborne Shima is also a 7'5" senior for them. And they're going to run and jump. They're going to attack the paint, and they're going to get good looks, high percentage looks. I think UConn's just got too much size and length and speed. And Princeton is there, or who is it? Iona isn't going to be able to keep up. TCU team, though. TCU is playing Arizona State in this first round. I watched them play a lot in the Big 12, and they're a good transition club. They get a lot of blocks and steals, and they have really good guard play, too. Mike Miles Jr. is one of the premier scorers in the nation. I just think that they lack sort of defense and rebounding. Jacoby Coles and Xavier Quirk are going to need to do a lot down there for them, and I just think they're a bit undersized. If they pound the paint, they have a shot at scoring a lot and coming away with a win that way, but they don't shoot a lot of threes. So I think that they're going to struggle in their second round matchup versus Gonzaga, but I do have them advancing past Arizona State. Arizona State, I have they will probably win, and they did win. Desmond Cambridge and Warren Washington, DJ Horn, those three guys. Washington needs to be attacking in the paint for them if they want to beat TCU. Warren Washington, he's good enough to have them play well enough to beat TCU. He's going to be their X factor for them in that game. And if he can pound the paint down low and open things up for Cambridge and DJ Horn on the wings, they have a real good shot at winning against TCU. But TCU, I'd put them a little bit above because they played in the best conference and they won against almost every team in the Big 12 this year. So if they play up to their potential, they definitely have a shot at knocking off Arizona State. I don't think they get past Gonzaga, though. So let's take a look at this Gonzaga team. Gonzaga is really deep this year. Timmy Strother and Malachi Smith are the guys that get most of their scoring. They do put up the most points in the nation. And that ain't no secret. It's not a secret how they play. They're kind of a half-court club, and they're a bit of a one-trick pony in the fact that they don't shoot it all that well. Strother, Smith, and Watson, though, they all can shoot it, but they're better at getting to the cup off the dribble. Going to be tough to handle between those three and Timmy. It's just going to be a lot for a lot of teams. They're definitely a national championship contender, and that's the big reason why I don't have Grand Canyon advancing. I just don't think that their guard play is good enough to keep up with the higher level guards in Malachi Smith and Watson and Strother on the Gonzaga arc, on the three-point line, on the wings. Let's see. Grand Canyon, they do shoot a lot of threes, but they are pretty susceptible to scoring droughts as well. I don't think that I don't think they have a shot at knocking off Gonzaga. So, moving on to this Northwestern versus Boise State matchup, Big Ten versus the WAC. Northwestern, not deep, not size, very small ball club. They don't rebound very well. They do have really good guard play. Boo Buie is one of the premier scorers in the nation. He gets close to 20 points a game. But they need Barnhizer to step up and become that third option for him. Either Barnhizer or Nicholson. I think Nicholson has a good shot at being that third option for him. He just he plays soft, and he's 7 foot, but he doesn't play like it. I think he's going to struggle on the defensive end of the court. But I don't think it's going to be enough for Boise State. I have them possibly, I don't know, this whole bottom of the bracket here, because I really don't like Marquette that much. I'm sorry, I really don't like UCLA or Marquette that much for the matter. But UCLA is just, they lost Braden Clark, and we'll get into that. But I don't think either of these two teams have enough firepower to overcome that UCLA matchup. But if they win this first game, they have a shot at overcoming that UCLA matchup because of the injury to Braden Clark. So let's take a look at this Boise State team. A bit undersized and nothing really too impressive on the offensive end of the court. Tyson Degenhart and Najee Smith are two stretch four guys for them. They do shoot a lot of threes. They can definitely win. They got one-on-ones with their top three guys on the wing, Degenhart, Rice, and Smith. But I don't know. I just don't like their matchup, honestly. I think Northwestern is going to be much better on the wings and in transition, and Boo Buie's going to have close to 30, I think. He's going to put up at least 20. UCLA, let's talk about them. Beat Arizona in the regular season, lost in the conference championship, and they're playing without Clark, like I said. They definitely have the depth to compete and the experience and the IQ. They got Tiger Campbell and Jaime Jaquez Jr., who have been there, been in national championship game. It's going to come down to Bona and Bailey, though. If those guys are able to produce on the offensive end of the court, then they have a good shot at getting deep. I just think that that injury really hurts them. They were a much better team with Clark. I think that they're going to struggle on the offensive end of the court without him. It's going to be a bit more one-dimensional than you would like between the two guard play. The two guard play is really good. I just think if Bona isn't able to get going, they're going to struggle. So I don't think that they can get past the Elite Eight. Yeah, they're not going to beat Kansas. And I actually have them losing to Gonzaga as well. UNC Asheville, let's see, they haven't lost since the 4th of February. They do match up pretty well. I didn't really take a good look at them, but they do have Drew Pember, who is a 6'10" senior, and he averages 14 most points in the nation and grabs 27th most rebounds. They really only play 6 guys, and they won back-to-back close wins to win their conference. I just don't see them giving anything to UCLA that's going to stifle, that's going to be a problem. I'm not putting UCLA in upset alert. Moving into the East, though, I think this is the strongest region, top to bottom. I think, where's the East at? There we go. I think Purdue, Duke, and Kentucky are my top teams in here. Like I said, I don't really like Marquette, but Kansas, this bottom of the bracket, Kansas State, Kentucky, USC, and Michigan State, I think all those teams can literally make it to the Elite Eight, and it's really tough to pick. Purdue, I don't know how this team is going to come out and play. They definitely passed the eye test. They got everything you would want. Zach Edey, you can't talk Purdue without talking Zach Edey. And they got good depth behind him. They got guys who can also score the rock. I just worry about whether or not they have a signature way to win. They, like a couple other teams, they have ways to beat you playing your game, and they're good at beating you playing your game. I just worry late game whether or not they have that guy. If Zach Edey can't be that guy, if they double him, and yeah, I just have him as no signature, and I'm worried about them. And they're definitely national championship conversation. I don't have them advancing to the Final Four, though. I think they're the lowest 1 seed in my mind. But I don't really have either of these 16 teams making a run. Neither team had 20 wins, and I think Fair Dickinson won last night. So let's take a look at this Memphis matchup, though. Memphis probably the best 8 seed in my mind. I watched them play Houston 3 times. They do have Kendrick Davis and DeAndre Williams are their 2 guys that are both 4 stars in my opinion. Kendrick Davis is even a little bit better possibly, but they have the experience, the athleticism, and the guard play. It's really going to come down to Lomax and Lawson, I think, whether or not they can provide a third scoring option for them. If they get to the paint and they play unselfish, which they do, I think that they're going to be a tough team to beat, and I think that they give Purdue a shot, a run for their money, honestly, in the second round. They can definitely win, and they can definitely get to the Sweet 16. Yeah. So beating Purdue is really about doubling Edey and then getting back out and recovering on the backside. And between Lomax and Davis, 2 undersized guards, but they're quick. So I think when they go to double and we got to recover on the backside, I don't think Purdue's going to have enough guys that get to the lane. I think, I do think I think Purdue's going to win, but I think it's going to be a tough matchup for them. So this FAU team, I didn't really look at them. I don't think that they have a shot at beating Memphis, but they're probably, I don't know. I could be definitely wrong. They're a 9 seed, so there's something about them that I don't know. They have 30 wins, and they're a bit undersized. Got the 7'1" Russian dude named Vlad, so that's always a good sign. But they have a little experience in these sophomore guards, 13 points a game and 14. Sophomore guard duo, definitely going to be looking for them at a higher level D1, maybe entering the transfer portal, Elijah Martin and John L. Davis next year. I'm really high on this Duke team. Right now they're playing really well now. Right now they got kind of unlucky with the 5 seed. I think they're the best 5 seed by far in the bracket. But like putting St. Mary's and Duke on the same line just doesn't make sense to me. They do struggle on the interior D. If they got to play Ryan Young, it's going to be a problem because he's just not. He's a honey bun a bit on defense. But they got Filipowski, Proctor, and Roach on the offensive end, and those guys are all going to get their shots and attract a lot of attention. Derek Lively's going to be their X factor down low. If he can play well on the defensive end of the court, they're going to have success. And then Whitehead and Grandison coming off the bench, 2 guys who are going to score and be good on defense as well. Two good guys to have coming off the bench. John Shire's doing a great job in his first year. Very impressive stuff. They're definitely in the national championship conversation in my mind. They're in my Final Four. I haven't beaten Purdue. Unless they can get past this Oral Roberts team again, because this Oral Roberts team is scary. Highest scoring team in the nation. Max Abmas and Connor Vanover. Abmas gets 20-some a game, and McBride, Mwamba, Jurgens, and Thompson can also all score. So what they do is they get those guys on the outside shooting threes, and then they look into Vanover, and he because you can't help off on the shooters, and it's going to be a one-on-one, or you're going to have a guy open who can shoot it. They shoot a high volume of threes, and like I said, they go outside in. They shoot it, and then they look in, and then they shoot it more. So they get the pick and roll and the pick and pops going for Vanover. He's also a shooter, 7'5", and he strokes it from outside. So they can definitely win, and I got this team as all or nothing. They're either going to get jumped in the first round by Duke, or they're going to go on a little Cinderella run. Let's take a look at this Tennessee matchup, Louisiana. Tennessee lost Zakai Ziegler. They have good depth, and they play really, really good defense. I think that loss from Zakai Ziegler might have been a bit of addition by subtraction. I just didn't like the way that he kind of ran their offense. They do score it well, and they do have good depth. Like I said, but their team's going to come down to Nakamo and Awaga. How well can those 2 guys play down low for them? They got to be able to grab boards and get stops in the paint. Mashak and Bescovy are going to be their 2 main scorers. Mashak's really going to help out Bescovy and take some of the load off of him. But Josiah Jordan James, he's a good guy to have coming off your bench too. He should be able to get some looks for them. But like I said, they're just susceptible to scoring droughts because Bescovy is their main guy, and without Ziegler, Ziegler was definitely a good scorer for them, and it hinders them on the offensive side of things. But yeah, I think that they're good enough to win. I just I don't have them advancing past the second round. So Louisiana, I did take a look at them. They got this Jordan Brown, 6'11" ball handler, dude. He's gonna be tough to stop for Tennessee. They just don't match up very well against Tennessee. I think they're undersized and inexperienced. They score it well. They shoot a high volume three, and they get it inside to Brown a lot. I just don't think they have a shot to knock off Tennessee. I think Tennessee's got too much firepower for them, too many weapons, and stifling defense. I think Kentucky's another team I really like in this region. They passed the eye test. They got the depth, and Antonio Reeves, Oscar Tshiebwe, and Cason Wallace are their main guys. C.J. Frederick can shoot it, and then Toppin, Livingston, and Wheeler are all two-way kind of guys who can also get to the cup when they want and take guys one-on-one. Toppin's a bit of a high flyer. They like to run it in transition. Great coaching, obviously, very athletic, and they don't shoot a lot of threes. They get to the paint and they run through Tshiebwe when they can. That opens things up for Reeves and Wallace, and those three guys are going to be their core three guys, and they can take them all the way to the Final Four. I think definitely a bit underseeded in my opinion as a 6th seed. Taking a look at this Providence team, I don't think they really have a shot at knocking off Kentucky. They don't play that good at defense inside. They have pretty decent guard play. It's just they turn it over a lot, and they're really slow. They're a half-court club. Between Bynum and Hopkins, really they're only guys who are going to be massive threats on the offensive side of things. Crosswell, he does get his touches down low. I just don't think he's able to keep up on the defensive side of things. He's a honey bun, and they can win, I guess, if they play their game. But I have them losing in the first round. Kansas State, very good offensive club. I've seen them play a couple of times now. Keontae Johnson and Marquise Noel are two high-powered guards that really lead the way for them. This team is going to come down to defense and rebounding. They can score it at will, and that's not going to be their issue. It's going to be guys that are coming off the bench. Can they clog up the lane and get stops? They're heavy turnover and they're quick-triggered. They don't take the best shots, but Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson have enough in the tank to lead them, I think, to the Sweet 16 and possibly the Elite Eight. I have them down as a Final Four team, but I really don't like their second round matchup versus Kentucky. I think they got a bad draw with that 3-6 matchup, and I think Kentucky advances. So let's take a look at this Michigan State versus USC. Like I said, this is one I had a lot of trouble with. I watched Michigan State play a lot of their recent games. I don't really know much about them. I know that Hoggard is their best guy. He's one of the top guards in the league, in the nation rather. Gets 10th in the nation in assists per game. He's their best player for sure. They're just a bit young and inexperienced. They got great coaching, great defense as always. They're a heavy turnover team. And if they don't have another guy other than Hoggard, well, they got Hoggard, Walker, and Hauser, who all get their buckets. But I worry about their inside and their interior defense and their rebounding more so than anything. This USC team, I think that USC knocks off Michigan State. I think that they're just deeper and they're better on the offensive side of things. They're a bit undersized, but I don't think that's going to really be a problem for them. I think Boogie Ellis and Trey White and Drew Peterson are going to be able to get their buckets and do enough to beat Michigan State. I think Drew Peterson is really an X factor for him. He's a big scorer. He's an offensive initiator. He gets 5 assists per game. A very underrated passer, and they do attack the paint and they have multiple scores. So I think that they can knock off Marquette because I think that they match up well against Cam Jones and Tyler Kolek, who we will take a look at. So this Marquette team, they have the depth, they have the coaching. Shaka Smart is a great coach. They play good defense and they rebound the basketball. Great guard play between these Batman Robin guys. I think Oliver Prosper is going to be their X factor. He needs to be their third scoring option. Iguodaro, he's a traditional four. He plays really good defense. Doesn't shoot it. They don't really stretch the floor all that well. And this is definitely a transition club. They shoot a high volume 3 as well. They take high percentage shots. But the sophomore backcourt, they're inexperienced, and I think USC is able to come away with that win in the second round. So taking a look at this final team, Vermont, nothing really too impressive that I see. So I definitely got Marquette taking Vermont. They play 5 seniors, Vermont does, so they definitely have the experience, and they're gonna have the grit and the heart to make a run. I just think Marquette's gonna be a little bit too much. However, you never know. I do have Marquette as my first 2 seed that gets upset. So you can see I have USC advancing over Marquette, and then I have Kentucky over Kansas State, Duke over Tennessee, and Purdue over Memphis. So taking a look at this first Elite 8 matchup, Alabama and Arizona, I have Arizona winning a very close game versus Alabama. I think Pele Larson, Tubelis, I just think Alabama's inexperience and their lack of leadership and their need of an attitude adjustment is going to come back to bite them in this Elite 8 matchup. Texas versus Houston, kind of similar deal. Texas is a much more experienced team. They play in the better conference. I just think that they're the better ball club overall. Down here, I have Kansas advancing past Gonzaga and Duke getting over Kentucky. So we're going to go 2-5, 2-1 in the Final Four. I got Arizona getting the win over Duke, and Kansas playing another close game versus Texas. I know that the Big 12 championship went one way, and Kansas lost by almost 20 points without Timmy Allen. I just think at the peak performance, I think Kansas performed, and I think they have the better ball club. Now, with that being said, I just think it's so difficult to repeat in college basketball, and I think Arizona's got it this year. I think between Arizona, Alabama, and Houston, I think one of those teams are going to win it. But my pick right now is Arizona. So I hope that you were able to take a look at these teams, and man, really all coming. It's going to be a great bracket here. I'm really excited to see these games and see who can come away with the crown this year. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope your picks are all. I hope your bracket doesn't get busted in the first round, even though I know mine will, and they always do. So yeah, like I said, thanks for watching.